Okay, so what I have done is I have opened a brand new PLC program. And the other thing I've done is gone in here and mapped my outputs. Now, if I want Y1 on, I need to add a 1. If I want Y2, I need to add a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, etc. So if I want Y5 and Y6 on, then I need to send a 48. That's my number. That will turn on those two bits. If I want Y3 and Y1, to be on, then I would need to use the number 5. If I want them all on, it would be 63. And so somewhere between none of them on would be 0. So 0 to 63 works out to be each of those individual lights. Okay, so that's sort of the background information. So now what I want to do is I want to go in and put in some logic that would change which lights are on. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to say C1, because I can control C1 locally. And then I'm going to do C2 in the next line. And let's do C3 in the next line. And these are just ones I control. This is going to be the control of it. And now what I want to do is I want to move my copy instruction, or start using my copy instruction. So there's my copy. And if you're going from a single place to a single point, you use single copy. If you've got a word or a bunch of bits and you want to put it into a word, you would pack it. If you've got a block that you want to copy, then you could do bits to bits, which we will do down at the bottom. And then unpack means I'm going to take a word and I'm going to break it down into the bits. And finally, the last one, I can take one and I can fill several memory locations. So I want to use the unpack copy. And for my source, I'm going to use DS1 as my source. And that's fine, so I'll just select that. My destinations, now what I'm going to have to do with unpack copy is I have to take and go to a certain location. And so what I've got to do is pick a location that I will ultimately write to my outputs, because I can't write them directly. So I can't do Y1. It won't let me. See, it's an invalid address. But if I do C21, it likes it. So C21 through C26. And actually, we'll see how that works. I might have it backwards. We'll test it. We will test it. We haven't really talked about one-shots, but generally speaking, whenever you copy, you only have to do it once. But we can leave that off for now. So C21 to C26. I think we'll be okay. And I'm going to use the same logic in that line as I do here. So I'm just copying and pasting down. I will go in and modify it and use DS2. Okay. And in this case, I want DS3. Okay. So what that means is when C1 is on, it's going to take DS1 and write it into this location. When C2 is on, it's going to take whatever's in DS2 and write it to that location. DS3 right at that location. Now I've got to use one more copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do my block copy. And I'm going to do C21 to C26. And for my destinations, I should be able to do Y1 to Y6. So whatever winds up on C21 is going to go to Y1. Whatever winds up on C26 will go to Y6. And then, of course, to make it work, I got to do an end statement. Hey, it worked that time for me. Yay. And so I've got to connect my PLC. I've got to download it, and then we got to go in online. So offline, I want to connect. I like looking at the detail. So I should be in COM10. Yeah. There we go. Now I should be able to connect. And I don't want to read from the PLC, but I do want to download. Got no errors, no warnings, and since I haven't saved it, so I'm going to call this the copy program. C-O-P-Y. Okay. And click OK. Click OK. Fine. So I'm writing a new program into my PLC, and we're just doing copies. We're good to go. And we'll put it back in run mode. Now, I'm going to open Data View because I am online with it. And the first thing I want to do is put in C1, C2, and C3. And C3. Okay, and then I want to put in DS1, DS2, 2, and DS3. Okay. All right, so DS1 is 15, and that is part of the memory in my PLC. So 15 would be 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So Y4 to Y1 should be on if I make C1 on. And so the nice thing is I can go in and do that, and it turned it on. That made this top rung true. So it's taken C15 and it's writing it to C21 to C26, and then C21 to C26 is being written to my outputs, and my first 4 outputs are on, 1 through 4. Just because I put a 15 in there. So now I'm going to turn off C1. And what you see when you turn it off is if you've got this on a PLC, your outputs are still actually on. Once they're written there, they will stay there. Okay? So once written there, it will stay there until you write something else there. All right, so now let's go in here and make DS2 something else. So what if I want Y5 and Y2? So that would be 18. So I'll come back in here, data view, and say, okay, make this an 18. Excuse me. You got to put it new value, enter, and then write it. Okay? So the fact that I'm writing 18, I'm going to actually be writing bits 1, 3, and 4 off because those would be zeros. So now if I go in here and I click C2 on and right back off, I should have Y2 and Y5 on, and looking at my PLC, I actually do. And so then I can do whatever I want to. I can control any light. I'm writing it on and I'm writing off. And what I should have done is put this in a subroutine, because how do I write them all off at the end? That's the other point where the one shot can come in. And I don't know if I can demonstrate this or not. So let's turn them all on. New value, and I said 63 was all of them. Okay, write it, and on, off. All 6 of my outputs are on. I can write them all off by writing a 0 to them. And then making that true. So you've got complete control, and you're just moving numbers, which ultimately end up as outputs. Okay, now how do I do the next part that I want to do? So I'm going to close my data view for a minute. I am going to go back offline. I want to go in and say, okay, we want to go to a subroutine if I do C4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so C4 is going to send me to a subroutine. And don't have a subroutine, so I got to make one. Clear. We'll just call it clear. Now, normally you would do clear as the first step in your subroutine. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy a block copy. And I can copy from somewhere with all zeros. So I'm going to do C101 to C106. I can see what they are. Y1 to Y6. I want this to only happen one time. Okay. And then I'm going to do a return to get back to my program, and then I'm going to go back to my main program, and C4 was going to call the subroutine. There we go. And now my end statement. And now download. Connect. I should have edited it and then done it. Oh well. Okay. So data view. I now have C4, which would send me into that subroutine. And then I've got C101, C102, C103. I haven't used them that I know of, but it's always good to check. C104, C105, and C106. Okay, I'm going to make my data view bigger so I can see stuff. So I can see it all. There we go. Okay, so I've got the same program. So I'm going to set this back to 15 or something. 15's good. Let's do 14. There we go. Enter and write. Okay, so everything's off. So if I go to C1 here and I write it on, then I should get my second, third, and fourth outputs on, which I do, because that's what 14 adds up to be. 14 is 8 plus 2 plus 4. So I should have Y2, 3, and 4 on. And I do. Okay? So once I have that on, now let's go back to the program. And my data view. And I need to turn C1 off, because if you leave C1 on, it's going to do it over and over again. Okay? So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put C4 on and right back off. And, oh, C4 is calling. And that should be writing it off. So I want to see what I've got not quite right. My clear subroutine. I'm copying to that. Oh, you know what's happening? I can tell you what's happening. This right here is overriding my off instructions. So, let's go in there and do C4 off. C4 off. There we go. And then send it. There we go. Okay. So I was going to the subroutine and it was writing them clear, and then it was jumping back to the program, coming back through and writing them right back on based on what I had put in C21 to C26. So now what should be happening is C4 off on. And I'm still not writing them to 0. Well, I wonder why 6. What I should have done is put all this stuff in a subroutine, which would have made it a little easier. And then when I call the clear subroutine, it should write it. So when this is on, okay, close. I am in run mode. And clear. So it should be good doing it. Interesting. Okay. Well, you get the idea on how to use copy. Now getting it right in the subroutine, I'll have to come back and look at. Thanks for watching.